The accident on Eridani Station. The sterile air of Eridani Station was filled with a quiet hum, the low-frequency vibrations of its artificial gravity generators barely noticeable to the humans walking through the corridors. But to the Azrithian diplomat standing at the edge of the conference room, everything about this place felt wrong. Her species was not meant to exist in environments like this. The very air was poison to her kind. And yet, here she was. Ambassador a voice interrupted her thoughts. She turned her sharp, obsidian eyes toward the human who had spoken. His name was Noah Vance, a human scientist stationed here as part of the Interspecies Research Division. Unlike the other humans present, who regarded her with wary politeness, Noah's expression held something else, curiosity. "Are you comfortable?" he asked. Exhaled slowly, her voice smooth yet alien. "Comfort is a relative term, human. I am here for duty, not pleasure." Noah smirked slightly but didn't press further. The negotiations between their species had been long and fragile, and the fact that she was standing here, breathing filtered methane through a special respirator, was a testament to how delicate this moment was. Then, everything went wrong. Without warning, the station shuddered. A deep, mechanical groan echoed through the walls. Lights flickered. An alarm blared. Atmospheric containment compromised. Emergency filtration engaged. Before could react, her respirator hissed, and failed. The mask cracked. A sharp hiss of air escaped. And then, oxygen flooded her lungs. She gasped, clawing at her throat. Her body convulsed as her cells screamed in protest. Her vision blurred. Her limbs felt heavy. Noah shouted her name, rushing toward her as she collapsed to the ground. But just as quickly as the pain had come, something else happened. The burning sensation in her lungs stopped. The suffocation eased. And instead of dying, her body adapted. The room was silent except for her ragged breathing. Slowly, she lifted her head. She could feel her heart pounding. She could feel the air entering her lungs, and it was no longer poison. Her fingers trembled as she touched her own skin. Something was changing inside her. Something irreversible. And when she finally met Noah's stunned gaze, she knew. She would never be the same again. A change beyond science. Sat on the medical bay's examination table, her fingers twitching as she stared at them. Her skin had always been a deep shade of onyx, smooth and almost metallic in the right light. But now there were flecks of silver spreading across the surface. An anomaly. An impossibility. Oxygen was supposed to kill her. Instead, it had changed her. "Your body shouldn't be able to do this," Noah muttered, pacing back and forth as he stared at the medical scans floating on the holographic screen. "And yet," said, her voice quieter than usual, "it has." Noah exhaled sharply and turned toward her, arms crossed. "You're adapting to oxygen. It's unheard of. Azrithians evolved to survive on methane-rich atmospheres. Your cells shouldn't even recognize oxygen as usable." "Perhaps the universe does not care what should or should not be," replied. Noah ran a hand through his hair. "We need more tests. I need to understand this." She tilted her head. "Do you need to understand, or does your species?" His lips pressed together, as if he wanted to argue but couldn't. "Both," he admitted. "But especially me. Because if this is what I think it is, you might not just be adapting. You might be evolving." The words hung in the air between them. She stared down at her hands again. Evolving. What did that even mean? Unexpected changes. Hours passed as Noah ran test after test, each one confirming the same baffling truth: Letha's biology was shifting at an alarming rate. Her lung capacity had changed. Her bloodstream had begun synthesizing new enzymes that processed oxygen efficiently. But it wasn't just her physical form that was adapting. She could feel something different inside herself. Emotions that had once been dulled were suddenly vivid. She had always prided herself on being composed, on keeping her thoughts controlled. Azrithians were not creatures of impulse. But now, emotions burned inside her, strong, unpredictable, wild. When Noah spoke, she felt his words resonate deeper than before. When their eyes met, there was a pull, something foreign, something she didn't recognize. Her fingers clenched. "I do not like this," she muttered. Noah glanced at her. "You don't like what?" "This feeling." "Which one?" "All of them," she snapped, sharper than intended. "Everything is, too much." Noah sat on the edge of the counter, watching her carefully. "You've spent your whole life in control of yourself. Now, suddenly, you can't be." She exhaled slowly, forcing herself to steady her thoughts. "This is why Azrithians do not change," she murmured. "This is why we remain as we are. Because change is dangerous." Noah studied her. "Or maybe it's necessary." The Council's warning. The moment the Azrithian High Council learned of her condition, they sent a transmission demanding her immediate return. "You have been exposed," their voices crackled through the station's comms. "You are compromised." Lettiz stood rigid in front of the holographic display, her expression unreadable. "Compromised," she repeated. "Is that what I am now?" "You must return for decontamination and observation," another council member said. Lettiz knew what that meant. Isolation. Study. Containment. She had become something new. And that terrified them. "I am not sick," she said evenly. "We will determine that. Return at once." Noah, standing beside her, frowned. "She's not your property. She should get to decide." "Human interference is not welcome," the council shot back. Lettiz felt something strange stir in her chest. Rage. Before she would have simply obeyed. But now, the thought of returning, of being locked away like a specimen. "No," she said. A stunned silence followed. "Ambassador Lettiz," the council spoke again, their voices harder now. "This is not a request." She lifted her chin. "I said no." She cut the transmission. Noah let out a slow breath. "Well. That was bold." Lettiz turned to him, her silver-flecked gaze unreadable. "I do not wish to be studied like an anomaly. I need to understand what I am becoming." Noah nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Then we figure it out together." For the first time in her life, Lettiz felt something unexpected. Hope. The pull of something new. Lettiz sat in silence, her gaze fixed on the reflection of her own hands. The silver flecks had spread further, forming faint glowing patterns across her dark skin. When she flexed her fingers, she could feel something different beneath the surface, as if her body was learning to operate under a new set of rules. She exhaled. Oxygen was not poison. Oxygen was fuel. "How do you feel?" Noah's voice broke the silence. She turned to him, her expression unreadable. "Like I am becoming something I do not understand." "That's not necessarily bad. It is to my people." He leaned against the console, arms crossed. "So what happens now?" She didn't have an answer. A shift in perception. As the days passed, the changes became more than just physical. She was thinking differently. For years, her decisions had been guided by logic, by calculated reasoning. But now, she was feeling things. When she stood near Noah, her pulse reacted in ways she couldn't explain. When he spoke, his voice seemed to carry weight beyond mere sound. It was unsettling. Azrithians did not form attachments the way humans did. Bonds were pragmatic, built for survival and strategic advantage. So why did she feel a pull toward him? It was more than curiosity. More than gratitude. It was something her people had no word for. Discovery in the dark. We should test your physical limits, Noah suggested one evening, his voice tinged with excitement. See how far this adaptation goes. Lethiz studied him. You are enjoying this. He grinned. Of course I am. This is the most exciting biological breakthrough in years. I am not an experiment. No, he said, more gently this time. You're extraordinary. Her breath caught. The word felt different coming from him. She pushed the thought aside. Very well, she said. We test. They began with endurance. Noah monitored her vitals as she adjusted to varying levels of oxygen, testing how much her body could tolerate before signs of strain appeared. But instead of weakening, she was thriving. Your metabolism is stabilizing, Noah murmured, watching the readings. Your body isn't just adapting, Lethiz. It's optimizing. Optimizing for what? He hesitated. Survival, probably. But something in his eyes told her he wasn't entirely sure. The Council's ultimatum. The next transmission came without warning. You are out of time, Ambassador Lethiz. The Council's voices were sharp, edged with authority. If you do not return, we will retrieve you by force. Lethiz clenched her jaw. And if I refuse? A pause. Then you will be considered a threat. Her stomach twisted. A threat. Not an anomaly. Not a subject of study. A danger. Noah's expression darkened. They're afraid of you. Lethiz nodded slowly. And fear made people dangerous. She had to make a choice. Return to her people and be locked away. Or stay, and face whatever consequences came next. Her fingers curled into a fist. I will not go back. Noah exhaled, a slow smile tugging at his lips. Then we fight. Hunted across the stars. Lethiz had never been pursued before. She had been the hunter, the one with the authority to command, to act without hesitation. But now, she was the prey. The Azrithian High Council had declared her a rogue element, an unacceptable deviation from their controlled and perfect society. She had seen it before, how those who strayed too far from their expectations were erased, their names and legacies wiped from history. But she had never imagined she would be next. Now, she and Noah were fugitives, moving through the outer colonies in search of refuge. They'll send retrieval squads, Lethiz said as they powered up the ship's engines. Noah smirked. Let them try. A growing connection. The more time they spent together, the harder it became for Lethiz to ignore the pull between them. Her adaptation had not stopped. She could feel her senses sharpening, her emotions deepening. Noah was different from anyone she had ever met. Humans felt everything so openly, without restraint. And Noah. He made her feel. It was dangerous. She didn't know if it was the oxygen, the stress of survival, or something more, something deeper than science could explain. But when he looked at her, when his hand brushed against hers in the dim glow of the ship's control panel, she wanted that touch. It was terrifying. It was exhilarating. The first attack. They didn't have to wait long before the first Azrithian retrieval team arrived. 3 sleek black warships emerged from hyperspace, their weapons locking onto the small vessel Noah and Lethiz had taken. They found us fast, Noah muttered. Lethiss's hands moved instinctively over the controls. They will not hesitate. They will board, subdue us, and take me back. Noah glanced at her. And we're not letting that happen. No, she said, voice steady. We are not. The ship trembled as the first warning shots hit their shields. Evasive maneuvers, she commanded. Noah grinned. Already on it. The battle was short and brutal. Noah was a skilled pilot, and Lethiz was faster than she had ever been before. Her mind processed data at an accelerated speed, allowing her to predict enemy movements before they happened. Was this another part of her evolution? Whatever the reason, it saved them. With a final calculated maneuver, they slipped through a narrow asteroid field, sending one of the pursuing ships crashing into a fragment of floating rock. The others hesitated just long enough for them to escape into hyperspace. A choice that cannot be undone. They will not stop, Lethes said after a long silence. Noah leaned against the control panel, watching her. I know. They will keep coming. My people will not accept me like this. They will not let me exist. He took a step closer. Then we make them accept it. We make them see that you're more than just a mistake to be erased. Lethes met his gaze. There was something fierce in his eyes. Something certain. Her people believed emotions made one weak. But she wasn't weak. And neither was he. She made her decision. Then we fight, she said. And for the first time, she truly felt free. The stand against fate. The air inside the ship was tense. Noah checked the navigation system for the third time, making sure they were on course. Lethes stood beside him, arms crossed, her glowing silver markings faint beneath the dim cockpit lights. Are you sure about this? Noah asked. Yes, she said without hesitation. They had spent days running, hiding across the outer colonies, but it was clear the Azrithians would never stop hunting her. So instead of running, they had decided to take the fight to them. A desperate plan. Lethes had spent years working within the Azrithian High Council. She knew their defenses, their weaknesses. They will not expect us to be bold, she said, studying the star map. They see me as unstable, a failed experiment. They assume I will hide, not strike back. Noah grinned. Let's prove them wrong. Their target was a communication outpost station just outside Azrithian-controlled space. It was lightly guarded but heavily connected. One transmission sent from there could be broadcast to every colony, every ship, every citizen. If they could override the system, Lethes could send a message directly to her people. If they hear me, if they see me, they may question what they've been told, she said. They may realize I am not a threat, I am proof of something greater. Noah nodded. Then let's make sure they listen. The infiltration. Approaching the outpost was easier than expected. Too easy. Lethes frowned as Noah docked the ship. Something is wrong. Maybe they're just underestimating us, Noah said. Lethes wasn't convinced. But they didn't have time to hesitate. They moved quickly through the station's corridors, avoiding detection as they reached the central control room. Lethes plugged into the system, fingers moving with inhuman speed as she bypassed security protocols. The screen flickered, data flooding through the interface. She opened the broadcast channel. This was it. The truth revealed. Lethes inhaled. She spoke. This is Ambassador Lethes. I am Azrithian, but I am also something new. Something different. Her voice echoed through every Azrithian frequency. They told you I was a failure. A mutation. But I am alive. I am stronger than they ever imagined. And I am not your enemy. She paused, steadying herself. If they fear me, it is because they fear change. They fear what I represent. She stepped closer to the camera, letting her silver-lit skin and sharp, bright eyes be seen. I am not broken, she said. I am evolution. The final betrayal. Alarms blared. Lethes's heart sank. They're here, Noah muttered. The doors burst open. Azrithian soldiers flooded in, weapons raised. Leading them was High Commander Zirith, the one who had trained Lethes, the one who had once called her his most promising student. His expression was cold. You should not exist, he said. And yet, here I am, Lethes replied. Zirith raised a hand. Stand down, and I will ensure your elimination is painless. No, Lethes said. I choose to live. And then. She fought. The turning tide. Noah covered her back as they moved, let his a blur of speed and power. She was faster than the soldiers. Stronger. Her body burned with energy, every move precise, every strike devastating. She wasn't just adapted to human air. She had become something beyond Azrithian. Beyond human. She was new. The message that changed everything. As the battle raged, the broadcast still played across Azrithian space. Millions saw her defiance. Millions heard her words. And some, just some, began to question. The escape. Lettiz and Noah fought their way back to the ship, alarms blaring behind them. As they launched into space, Noah turned to her. Do you think they listened? Lettiz exhaled, watching the stars stretch before them. They will, she said. Because I am not done yet. And as they vanished into the void, she knew. This was only the beginning.